Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are unpacking a story that I think a lot of people think they know, but when you actually peel back the layers, it's not the story you've been told. We're talking about Robert Downey Jr.
It's the ultimate Hollywood story, is the prodigal son, the comeback.
It is. But I want to start somewhere very, very specific. I want to start with the 2024 Oscar. RDJ is up on stage. He's winning Best Supporting Actor for Oscar.
Really?
Absolutely. He looks incredible. He's charming. The whole room is just in the palm of his hand. He steps up to the mic, and one of the first things he does is he thanks his terrible childhood.
And the room laughed.
Right. They laughed. It totally played like a classic RDJ one-liner.
Yeah.
But you and I have been digging through the archives. We've been looking at the biographies, the court transcripts, the interviews from the 90s.
Yeah.
And that wasn't a joke.
Not even a little bit. That was a statement of fact.
He was a receipt.
Yeah. When you look at the trajectory of his life, the fact that he was standing on that stage at all is, it's statistically impossible. We are talking about a man who, not that long ago, was inmate P50522.
Right.
He was considered uninsurable, and that's a specific industry term we really need to get into later because it's basically a death sentence for an actor. He was the poster boy for canceled before we even had a word.
That's what I want to get into today. How do you go from being an inmate in a California state prison, and we should be clear, not a nice one, to launching the entire Marvel Cinematic, because the gap between those 2 points is filled with some of the darkest, weirdest, tragic moments in modern Hollywood history.
It's a case study in so many things: generational trauma, the cold economics of the film industry, and honestly, just the sheer mechanics of survival.
So let's rewind. Let's go all the way back.
Yeah.
Because Robert Downey Jr. didn't just stumble into addiction in his 20s like a lot of child stars do. This was baked in from the very beginning.
It's literally from the start. To understand Robert Downey Jr., the actor, the star, you absolutely have to understand Robert Downey Sr., the father.
The filmmaker.
The filmmaker, right. And not a mainstream filmmaker. Robert Downey Sr. was this underground counterculture figure in New York in the 60s and 70s. He made these absurdist, low-budget experimental films.
Putney Swope is probably the one people might know.
That's the one. But the environment he cultivated, it wasn't a nursery, It was a perpetual party. It was artists and intellectuals and drug users all mingling in their Greenwich Village.
And this is where that terrible childhood comment really lands.
Yeah.
There was a specific detail in the biography that just stopped me cold. RDJ's introduction to drug, it happened when he was 6 years old.
Six.
I have a 6-year-old nephew. He's playing with Legos. The idea of handing him a joint it's beyond bad parenting. It feels like a crime. But that's what happened.
That's what happened. The story goes they were having a poker game at their apartment. The place is full of smoke and adults. RDJ, at 6, is walking around and he picks up a glass of white wine and sip.
Which is already a red flag.
Huge red flag. But his dad sees him, walks over, takes the wine glass away, and hands him a joint.
What could possibly be the logic there? Even for the 70s, that had to be seen as completely insane.
You have to try and get into the headspace of that specific counterculture at that time. Downey Sr. later explained it, and he had a tremendous amount of regret about this later in his life. But at the time, his logic was that it would be hypocritical not to share.
Hypocritical.
Yeah. He viewed himself and his son as peers. He thought it was
cute. That is such a heavy, awful word to hang on that memory.
But here's the part that really, really messes head, and this is crucial to understanding RDJ's entire struggle. He didn't view this as abuse. He didn't see it as his dad being negligent. He interpreted it as love.
Explain that. That's a hard concept to grasp.
RDJ has said explicitly in interviews that when he and his dad were doing drugs together, that was the only time his dad really knew how to express intimacy. It was their bond. It was the only way his father knew how to.
Wow.
So imagine the neural pathways being formed in a 6-year-old's brain. You are wiring the concepts of love, comfort, and safety directly to the physical sensation.
So every single time he gets high later in life, he's not just chasing a chemical buzz, chasing his dad's approval. He's chasing that feeling of connection.
Exactly. It's an emotional codependency that gets fused with chemical. It's a trap he was born, and it escalated fast. By the time he was 8, he was abusing alcohol regularly. By his early teens, he was into hard narcotics. They were, as one biography puts it, codependent addicts before the kid.
It's just heartbreak. And we hear this term Nepo baby thrown around a lot in Hollywood now.
Oh, yeah, all the time.
And usually we think of kids who get the red carpet rolled out. But RDJ's entry into acting wasn't exactly glamorous, was it?
No, not at all. Sure, he had an in, he got roles because of his dad, but these weren't Spielberg movies. These were bizarre avant-garde art films that almost nobody saw. His first role, he was 5 years old in his dad's movie Pound.
What was he playing?
He was playing a
puppy.
A puppy who gets euthanized at the end of the film.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's dark. It's really dark stuff. So for RDJ, acting wasn't this dream he chased. It wasn't about fame. It was just the family trade. It was like, my dad is a plumber, so I learned how to hold the wrench. In his case, it was, my dad makes weird movies, so I put on the puppies.
It was completely normalized.
Totally. And that normalization is so dangerous because it meant he never developed a separation between his work and his absolutely chaotic personal. It was all one big mess.
So he grows up in this bohemian chaos. He drops out of Santa Monica High School to pursue acting, and he eventually moves to, and he lands right in the middle of what we now call the Brat Pack era.
The mid-'80s. The golden era of teen angst movies.
Right. He's acting alongside people like Molly Ringwald, Rob Lowe, Anthony Michael Hall. He's in Weird Science, Tough Turf. But RDJ wasn't the heartthrob, was he? He wasn't the leading man.
No, he was always the quirky, intense sidekick. He was the guy who stole the scenes, but he wasn't the one on the poster.
And I found this nickname he gave himself at the time just fascinating. He called himself the Nosedive King.
The Nosedive King. It's such brutal self-awareness.
Why did he call himself that?
Because his movies kept tanking. He was doing good work. You can go back and watch them. The critics always singled him out. They always said he had this frenetic, almost dangerous energy. But the movies themselves, box office poison, he felt like he was cursed. Like any project he was the lead in was doomed to fail financially.
And then he gets what should have been the golden ticket out of that. He gets cast on Saturday Night Live.
This is one of those facts that people always forget. Robert Downey Jr. was a cast member on SNL, 1985.
And not just any season.
Oh, no. He was on season 11, the season that Lorne Michaels came back after being away. He fired the whole cast from the previous year and brought in a bunch of young, hotshot movie actors.
And it's considered one of the worst seasons in the show's history.
An absolute disaster. It almost got the show canceled for good. Yeah. And RDJ wasn't just on it. He was bad.
He was historically bad. I mean, Rolling Stone magazine eventually did a ranking of every cast member in the show's history, and he was ranked dead last, the worst ever.
Dead last. And that's a list that includes some pretty questionable people over, 50 years?
So why was he so bad? He's a funny guy. He's incredibly quick. You see him in interviews. He's witty. He's charismatic. Why didn't that translate to sketch comedy?
Because he's not a sketch comedian. He's a character actor. And there's a fundamental difference. Sketch comedy requires you to find the game of the scene immediately, hit the punchline hard, and get out. RDJ was doing, he was doing performance art.
Tell me about his audition. I read about the suitcase thing, and I still don't quite get it.
Oh, it's legend. So he goes into the audition for Lorne Michaels. Most people do impression. Or a funny character with a catchphrase. RDJ does this bit where he pulls his shirt completely over his head and runs around the room pretending to be a demonic baby.
A demonic baby.
Yes. Then he does another character who's just a guy with a suitcase who walks around and wants to put scotch tape on people's faces. That was the whole bit.
That sounds unwatchable.
It was anti-comedy. It was avant-garde and weird. And somehow Lorne hired him. Probably because he was young and handsome and had energy. But on the live show, it just felt flat. He didn't know how to write sketches. He didn't fit in. He spent a year late.
So he's failing at SNL. His movies are nosediving. And then he gets the script for a film called Less Than Zero. This is 1987. And this feels like the moment where the universe stopped being funny and started being cruelly ironic.
Cruelly ironic is the perfect way to put it. Less Than Zero is based on the Bret Easton Ellis novel, which was itself hugely controversial. It was this bleak, nihilistic portrait of rich, disaffected youth in L.A.
And RDJ plays the character of Julian Welch.
Julian is a nightmare role for any actor. He's a bisexual college kid from a wealthy family who spirals into a horrifying crack addiction, gets disowned by everyone he knows, and ends up prostituting himself to pay off his drug.
It was an incredibly taboo role for a young actor in the 80s. Most guys his age were trying to be the hero in a John Hughes movie or an action star. RDJ wanted the grit. He wanted the weird subject. But here is where the method acting trap snapped shut on him.
Method acting. We hear that term a lot. Usually it means, Daniel Day-Lewis making people call him Mr. President on set. But for RDJ, it was something entirely different and much more dangerous.
Right. RDJ was already partying. He was already using drugs recreationally. So he takes this role. And the director, and this is something that would never, ever fly today, basically tells him and his co-star, Andrew McCarthy, hey, go out, party, live the life, understand the character. That is like telling a pyromaniac to go study fire by burning down a shed.
It's malpractice. Just, It's unbelievable. But RDJ took it to heart. He didn't just play Julian. He moved. He started escalating his own drug use to match what was happening in the script.
So art wasn't imitating life. Life was imitating art.
They became indistinguishable. There are stories from the set of him being found, howling at the moon, completely out of his mind during production because he was so deep in character and so high.
But in his own mind, he thought he was in control.
That's the insidious nature of the high-functioning addict. He looked at the character of Julian, who is homeless, desperate, selling his body for drugs, and he thought, well, I'm not that bad. I'm a movie star. I drive a nice car. I have a beautiful girlfriend. I'm just doing research.
He used the character as a shield, as a justification to hide his own escalating addiction from himself and everyone else.
Precisely. And the movie comes out, and he's absolutely amazing in it. The critics said it was haunting, that it was terrifyingly real.
Because it was.
Because it wasn't acting. He was just documenting his own future. He later said that for the next decade of his life, the character of Julian was like the ghost of Christmas future hanging over him. So
Less Than Zero puts him on the map as a serious heavyweight actor, and then he lands Chaplin in 1992, and this is really the peak of the high-functioning illusion.
Chaplin is a masterpiece of performance. I mean, you can argue about the film itself, but what he does in it is astonishing. He played Charlie Chaplin from age 19 to 83.
The physical transformation is incredible.
He learned to play tennis left-handed, just like Chaplin. He learned to play the violin left-handed. He hired a personal coach to teach him how to walk exactly like the tramp, that specific waddle. On set, he was disciplined, he was focused, he was a total professional.
He got an Oscar nomination for Best Actor. He was up against Al Pacino for Scent of a Woman. He was, for a moment, arguably the best actor of his generation.
But offset, the wheels were coming off completely. There's a fascinating documentary from this era called The Last Party. RDJ wrote and starred in it. It's supposed to be about the 1992 presidential election, but really it's just a document of his own mania.
Is this where the famous New York Stock Exchange rant comes from?
Yes. He goes to the floor of the NYS. He's wearing this oversized suit. His eyes are wide. He's just vibrating with this manic energy. And he looks at the traders and calls them money-hungry, low IQ, high-energy jackrabbit wannabes.
Jackrabbit wannabes.
It's funny, and it's smart, and it's insightful, but if you actually watch his eyes in that clip, he's gone. He is running on pure chemical adrenaline. And this is when his personal life really starts to disintegrate. Sarah Jessica Parker, who is, by all accounts, a saint in this story, had been with him for 7 years.
7 years is a long, long time to be the caretaker for an addict.
She tried everything. She loved him, but she couldn't save him. She finally had to leave because the chaos was too much. She said she had to figure out how to, love him from a distance and pray for him. And that breakup removed one of the last real guardrails he had.
I want to talk about the space shuttle incident because I feel like it perfectly encapsulates this era of his life. It's hilarious on the surface, but it's also sad.
This was on the set of Home for the Holidays, which was directed by Jodie Foster. It's the mid-90s now. RDJ is in his trailer. The assistant director knocks on the door and says, "Robert, we're ready for you on set. What are you doing in there?"
And he yells back,
"I'm building a space shuttle out of toothpicks."
And he wasn't joking. He wasn't being sarcastic.
No. He was high on heroin, and he was literally sitting in his trailer gluing toothpicks together into some kind of structure. And Jodie Foster, you have to give her so much credit. She didn't fire him. She didn't call his agent and scream at him. She pulled him aside and said something that I think haunted years.
She didn't lecture him on morality.
No, she told him she was afraid for him. She said something like, "You're doing great work. You're fooling everyone, but I'm afraid for you. You are propping yourself up, but eventually you're going to run out of
toothpicks." That is such a chilling, perfect metaphor. It's not you're going to die. It's the structure you've built to hold this whole illusion together is going to collapse.
And it did. The late 90s is where we hit Section 5, rock bottom. And I don't mean Hollywood rock bottom where you go to luxury rehab and I mean actual rock the kind.
It started with a series of just insane arrests. The Malibu speeding.
1990s, he gets pulled over for speeding in his Porsche on the Coast Highway. The police report is wild. He's naked. He has cocaine, heroin, and an unloaded .357 Magnum in the past.
Why the gun?
Just pure paranoia. That's what the drugs do. He thought people were after him. He was having hallucinations.
But the arrest that everyone talks about, the one that is it's so baffling it sounds like a movie scene, is the Goldilocks incident.
The Goldilocks incident. It's so absurd. So RDJ is out on bail from the first arrest. He's high. He wanders into his neighbor's house in Malibu. The neighbors are Bill and Lisa Curtis. He doesn't know them at all.
He just walks in the front door?
The door is unlocked. He walks in, goes into their 11-year-old son's bedroom, and passes out in the bed. But here's the detail that just breaks my heart. Before he got into the bed, he took off his pants and folded them neatly over the back of a chair.
He folded his pants?
Yes. Even in a complete drug-induced blackout state, that little piece of his ingrained politeness that I'm a guest in someone's home mentality was still there. He folded his pants.
So the mom, Lisa Curtis, comes home.
She comes home. She sees a strange man passed out in her son's bed. She calls the police. And this says so much about RDJ's inherent nature. She said later she wasn't terrified. He just looked full and sad. When the paramedics came and woke him up, he was confused. He sat up, realized what he had done, and he started making funny faces at the kids to try and make them laugh.
He's in the middle of being arrested for trespassing and drug possession, and his first instinct is to try to entertain the children whose room he's in.
That's the tragedy of it all. The charm never left, but the control was completely gone. And the courts, at this point, they were done with the charm. He had been given probation, he violated it, he was sent to rehab, he escaped. So in 1999, the judge basically says, enough. And he sentences Robert Downey Jr. to 3 years in the California Department of Corrections. And he didn't go to some country club prison. He went to Corcoran II and then the substance abuse treatment facility. But he started his journey at the Delano Receiving Center.
Let's talk about Delano. Because I think people imagine celebrity prison is just playing tennis and signing autographs for the guard.
Delano is a reception center. It's where they process everybody coming into the state system. So you have the guy who wrote a bad check in the same holding tank as the guy who murdered his family. Level 1s mixed with level 4s. They're all in there together while they get classified. RDJ described it as the most dangerous place I've ever been in my life. He said you can literally feel the evil in the air.
There's the shower story he tells.
Yeah. His first day, RDJ walks into the communal shower. He's terrified, and he makes a rookie mistake. He has his underwear on backward. And the other end, they aren't looking at him as the guy from Chaplin. He's just fresh meat. They start jeering at him, laughing at him. He said in that moment he realized he could be killed or worse at any second and nobody would.
He served almost a full year in prison. Did it fix him?
No, that's the big misconception. People think prison scares you straight. RDJ has said that prison just taught him how to survive prison. He worked in the kitchen, scrubbing pans, earning 8 cents an hour. He got into a fight where he had to be protected by other inmates. But when he got out on early release, he relapsed almost.
He gets out, he gets cast on Ally McBeal. He's great on it. He wins a Golden Globe. It looks like he's back.
For a minute. But he's arrested again in a hotel room in 2000, and then again in 2001, just wandering around Culver City barefoot and high, and that was the final straw. Ally McBeal fired him, his wife filed for divorce, and this is where we reach the uninsurable phase of his career.
Explain this to me, because I hear this term, but I don't think most people really understand the mechanics. Why does insurance matter so much? If a director wants to hire him, why can't they just hire him?
Okay, this is a little bit of Hollywood Business 101, but it's essential. Movies are funded by banks and big financial. To get the bank loan, the movie's producers need to secure what's called a completion bond. This is an insurance policy that guarantees the movie will be finished no matter what. So if the lead actor dies or gets arrested or goes to rehab and the production has to shut down for weeks, the insurance company has to pay back the bank for all those millions of dollars.
Okay, so it's like car insurance, but for a $100 million production.
Exactly. And the insurance companies are run by actuaries. They just look at the data. They looked at Robert Downey Jr., multiple arrests, a prison sentence, rehab escapes, constant relapses, and they said the probability of this man finishing a 12-week movie shoot without a major incident is basic. So they refused to bond him.
And if there's no bond?
There is no loan. If there's no loan, there is no money. If there's no money, there is no movie. He was radioactive. It didn't matter how talented he was or how much a director wanted him. Hiring him was mathematically and financially impossible.
He lost his house.
Yeah.
He was living in a rented apartment, struggling to pay rent. He was arguably the most talented actor of his generation, and he couldn't get a job doing a student film.
He was completely and totally finished. By every metric of the industry, his career was, and this is where the story needs, or at least a very complicated hero. Enter Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we have to acknowledge Mel has his own very serious controversies that came much later. But in 2003, Mel was the king of Hollywood. Braveheart, Lethal Weapon, The Patriot. He was an Oscar-winning director and one of the biggest stars in the world.
Untouchable. And he and RDJ were old friends. They had done the movie Air America together back in the day. RDJ describes their relationship as a seesaw. When Mel was sober and on top of the world, RDJ was a mess. When RDJ was trying to get sober, Mel was struggling. But at this specific moment, Mel was up. And he wanted to cast RDJ in a small movie he was producing called The Singing Detective.
But the insurance company said no, of course.
Flat out no. So Mel Gibson did something that basically nobody does in Hollywood. He reached into his own pocket and put up his own money. He personally underwrote the insurance. He told the studio, if he messes up, if he relapses, if he shuts down production, I will pay for the entire movie. I will lose my millions.
That is, wow. That's not just a favor. That's putting your entire fortune on the table for a friend.
It's a massive, massive risk. But Mel gave RDJ a piece of advice at that time that I think is the core philosophy of his entire recovery. He told him to hug the cactus.
Hug the cactus. What does that mean?
It's a metaphor for shame and pain. RDJ was drowning in shame. He was the guy who folded his pants in the kid's bedroom. He was the guy who woke up in prison with his underwear on backward. He was the guy who got fired from a hit TV show. Mel told him, Don't run from that shame. Don't hide from it. You have to turn around and hug the cactus. Embrace the pain. Let all the thorns prick you. Because if you can fully accept it, if you can own the ugliest parts of yourself, eventually you can let it go.
It's about radical acceptance of your own failures.
Exactly. And the only thing Mel asked for in return, and this becomes key later, was just do this for the next guy. Help the next guy down the line.
So the singing detective gets made. RDJ stays sober for the entire shoot. He proves he can do it. But the real personal turning point comes on his next film. He gets cast in a horror movie called Gothica.
Not a great movie.
A terrible movie, really. But something great happened on that set. He met Susan Levin.
Susan was a producer on the film, and she was the complete opposite of him. She was, straight-laced, super organized, professional. She looked at RDJ and just saw this weird, eccentric guy with his vitamins and his yoga and his strange philosophy. She wasn't into him at all at first.
But he wore her down.
He charmed her. But, and this is the absolute difference, she didn't enable him. They started dating, but she saw the crack. She saw the toothpicks just like Jodie Foster did, and she gave him an ultimatum.
What did she say to him?
She told him basically, I am not doing this dance with you. I see what you are and I see what you could be. If you do hard drugs again, I am gone. No arguments, no second chances, no more rehab stints. I will just leave and I will never come back.
And for whatever reason, RDJ believed her.
He absolutely believed her. There's a famous story RDJ tells it himself about the Burger King. He was driving down the Pacific Coast Highway. His car was apparently full of drugs. He stops at a Burger King, orders a burger and a soda, and the burger was just disgusting. And in that moment, he said he thought about the disgusting burger, the drugs in his car, the mess of his life, and the very real risk of losing Susan.
A moment of clarity.
A total moment of clarity. He drove out to the ocean and threw all the drugs, all the paraphernalia, everything into the water.
He threw a fortune in drugs into the ocean because of a bad Whopper.
Well, the Whopper was the catalyst. Susan was the reason. He decided right then and there that he wanted the life with her more than he wanted the life with heroin. And that was it. July 4th, 2003. He says he hasn't touched hard drugs since.
So he has the stability, he has the wife, he has the sobriety. But he still isn't a superstar. He's a working actor again. He does Kiss Kiss Bang Bang with Shane Black, which is amazing, by the way.
An incredible film, a masterpiece, but it made no money.
Right. And then we get to 2006, Marvel Studios.
We have to set the stage here. Marvel in 2006 is not the Disney-owned multi-billion-dollar empire we know today. They were desperate. They were on the verge of bankruptcy. They had sold the film rights to Spider-Man to Sony. They sold the X-Men and Fantastic Four to Fox. They were left with their B-list characters.
Iron Man was considered B-list.
Absolutely. He was a second-tier hero at best. Outside of the comic book world, nobody cared about Iron Man. Marvel decided to take a huge gamble and make their own movie, financed by taking out a massive loan against the rights to their remaining characters. They needed a hit, or the entire company might go under.
And the director they hire, Jon Favreau, looks at the character of Tony Stark, a brilliant, arrogant, witty, self-destructive weapons manufacturer with a bad heart and a history of alcoholism who has to build something better to save himself. And Favreau thinks, I know who that is.
He said, Robert Downey Jr. is Tony Stark. It wasn't just about acting, it was the vibe. The redemption arc of the character perfectly mirrored the real-life redemption arc of the actor.
But the Marvel board.
Oh, they hated it. They literally told Favreau, under no circumstances are we hiring. They looked at the insurance risks, the prison record, his age. They wanted Tom Cruise. They wanted Nicolas Cage. They wanted Clive Owen. Anyone but him.
Nicolas Cage's Iron Man is a multiverse movie I desperately want to see.
It would have been wild. But Favreau would not budge. He fought for RDJ relentlessly. He leaked rumors to the press to build hype. He eventually got them to agree to just give him the screen test, and RDJ came in and crushed it. He was so undeniably charismatic, so perfect for the part that he basically forced their...
But even then, they paid him peanuts for it, right?
He got $500,000 for the first Iron Man. Terrence Howard, who played Rhodey, got paid significantly more than... That's how little faith the studio had in him.
And the production itself. I read that they didn't even have a finished script when they started shooting.
This is my favorite part of the entire story. They had a release date. They had the big action sequences mapped out with pre-visualization, but they didn't have the dialogue. So every morning, RDJ, Jon Favreau, Gwyneth Paltrow, and the writers would get in a trailer and just rip. They would improvise.
They were improvising a $140 million movie.
Yeah, that's why the movie feels so fresh and alive. You know how most superhero movies feel kind of stiff and formulaic? Iron Man feels like real people talking over each other and being witty. That whole scene where he's testing the suit and talking to Robot Jarvis, that's RDJ. Just Jeff Bridges, who played the villain Obadiah Stane, said it drove him crazy. He'd show up and say, "Where are my lines?" And RDJ told him, "Man, we're making a $200."
And the line, the famous line at the very end of the movie, the truth is, I am Iron Man.
Not in the script. The script had the classic superhero ending where Tony Stark reads the cue cards SHIELD gives him and keeps his secret identity. RDJ just decided on the day, nah, this guy wouldn't hide. He's too arrogant. He's too much of a showman. And he said the line. Kevin Feige, the head of Marvel, saw it in the dailies and said, keep that one single improvised line the entire course of the Marvel. It meant heroes didn't have to have secret identity. Set the whole tone.
The movie comes out. It makes almost $600 million. RDJ is suddenly the biggest star on the planet.
And the highest paid. By the time Avengers Endgame rolled around, he was making $75 million a movie.
It's the greatest comeback in the history of entertainment. But what I love is that he didn't play it safe after that. He had the world at his feet. He could have done anything. And his very next move was Tropic Thunder.
The single riskiest move possible.
He decides to play Kirk Lazarus, a white Australian method actor who undergoes pigmentation alteration surgery to play a black sergeant in a Vietnam War movie. He spends almost the entire movie in blackface.
I mean, just say that sentence out loud today. It sounds like a career-ending, cancellation-worthy decision.
So why wasn't it? Why did he get another Oscar nomination for that instead of getting completely canceled?
It comes down to intent and RDJ and the director, Ben Stiller, understood, and they made sure the audience understood, that the joke was not on black people. The joke was on sanctimonious, self-important act. He was mocking the absolute insanity of method acting, the very thing that almost destroyed him back in the 80s.
He was playing a guy who was trying so hard to be authentic that he became completely absurd and offensive.
Exactly. It was a brilliant meta joke about Hollywood itself. And he was smart about it. He consulted with Jamie Foxx and other black actors doing it. Jamie Foxx told him, man, go for it. If you nail it, it's hilarious. And he nailed it. He even stayed in character on the DVD commentary track.
It's commitment.
It showed that he wasn't just Iron Man anymore. He was a fearless artist.
And that brings us full circle, all the way to the present. He does Oppenheimer. Plays Louis Strauss. It's a quiet, villainous, deeply insecure bureaucrat, a character totally different from Tony Stark.
And he wins the Oscar, and he completes the journey. But there's one final piece to this puzzle that I think is the most important part, the crisis.
Right. We talked about what Mel Gibson said to him. Help the next guy.
RDJ took that literally. In Hollywood now, when someone is publicly spiral, when a young actor gets arrested for a DUI or is having a very public breakdown, the first phone call they often get is from Robert Downey Jr.
He calls them personally.
He calls them or has his team reach out. He invites them to his house in Malibu. He has reportedly helped Armie Hammer. He's helped others we probably don't even know about. He helps them find rehab. He helps them navigate the insurance issues that he knows so well. He basically says, I have been where you are. In fact, I have been worse than where you are. Here is the rope.
He became the Mel Gibson figure for the new.
He hugged the cactus, and now he shows other people how to too.
It's a beautiful story. It really is. But I have a question, and this is maybe a darker, more provocative note to end on.
Go for it.
RDJ's story happened in a very specific window of time. The 90s and early 2000s were chaotic, sure, but there wasn't social media in the way we have it now. There wasn't cancel culture in the instantaneous, permanent way we have it today. My question is, if a 25-year-old actor today was arrested with a gun, broke into a neighbor's house, passed out in their kid's bed, and was fired from a hit TV show, would they survive?
That is the big question, isn't it?
I feel like today the system is just too rigid. The uninsurable label would be permanent. The Twitter mob would demand they never work again. We say we love a redemption arc, but do we actually allow for the fallen?
I think you're right. We want the redemption without the mess. But what the story of Robert Downey Jr. proves is that the mess is necessary for the... You can't have the rise without the spectacular fall. And if we sanitize Hollywood too much, if we demand moral perfection from these people day one, we might be preventing the next Robert Downey Jr. from ever emerging. We might just be burying them at their first...
That's something to chew on. Is the era of the bad boy comeback officially over? Or do we just need someone charming enough and talented enough to pull it off again?
I think we're just lucky we got the one we did.
We certainly are. Listeners, thank you for diving deep with us. From the toothpick space shuttle to the Oscar stage, what a ride. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.
Hug the cactus, everyone.